Hey guys, welcome to the Nick Bahe YouTube page. You know what you need to do. You need to subscribe, you need to ring the bell, you need to like the page, you need to leave a comment. I appreciate you. All right, we got to turn off the speaker I put over there. We have to turn off our R&B. We were listening to Barry White and Jeffrey Osborne, and we're not lying because that's where we're at. That's where we're at before we talk about Nebraska losing 45-7. Apparently, we got to listen to 80s and 90s R&B.
Jamming to 80s and 90s R&B, and then we were laughing about things we can't discuss on this pod.
Yeah.
So hard that we both have tears in our eyes.
I feel like we just in a UFC fight, like you completely expend all your adrenaline and energy. And I'm nervous. I just did that. We had a howling on the ground laugh. And now we're going to have to muster up some energy.
2-minute laugh. It was like a 2-minute laugh.
It's not good. Okay, well, let me tell you about the Game Recap Pod is brought to you by Onyx Automotive. Best of Omaha, #1 luxury car dealer. They really provide a full-scale luxury experience. They offer industry-leading brands, BMW, Jaguar, Land Rover. Great location in Omaha, 150th and Dodge. Check them out online, onyxautomotive.com. Onyxautomotive.com. Drive Onyx, the new standard. Big salute to Onyx Automotive for sponsoring the Game Recap Pod. And the pod is brought to you by Shoot 360 Lincoln. We are 2 weeks away from the grand opening. If you don't know, I don't know what to tell you, man. It's the world's most advanced basketball training facility, and it is coming to our hometown, Lincoln, Nebraska. It's a national franchise that specializes in skill development, shooting, passing, ball handling, NBA-level technology. 26 NBA teams use this tech, but it's consumable for players of all ages and skill levels, 3rd or 4th grade rookies to college-level pros. This is where you come get your reps up. Become a member. Shoot360.com/Lincoln. Fill out the official recruiting visit form. Everybody gets a free workout to start. Come check out the facility. We are 2 weeks away. Spots are filling up, people. Shoot360Lincoln.com/Lincoln. Okay, Bo Ruud. When I got here, or when you got here, I basically was like, okay, do we get into the minutia of the game? Do we get into the big picture of the game? I want to start big picture, and then if we get into some of the specifics of it, so be it. I mean, I don't know. I'm really fascinated with what this week will be like. But I just want to, I am struggling mentally a little bit, and I need your help again. This is kind of like how we started the last pod. I'm having a hard time here. Because what's hard is I felt like this sort of outcome with Michigan coming to town was more probable than not. I think I even said this to you after we turned off the mics after we recorded our pod last week. I'm like, what's more likely? Nebraska scores 0 points or scores 21 points? And we were both like, zero.
Yeah.
So while I and we somewhat expected that outcome, or we certainly knew that was possible, that still doesn't mean that it's not really disappointing and disheartening to watch it, because there's a difference between getting beat and not even being competitive. And I mean, I predicted that Michigan would win 30-7, but I thought Nebraska would be competitive for a little bit, hang in there for a little bit, and the defense would fight for a little bit. And none of that happened. So I feel like I'm a hypocrite where I'm like, okay, I thought Nebraska would lose, but I just found myself really frustrated and incredibly disappointed as I was watching it unfold. Help my mental hypocrite make sense of this.
Well, we had this game circled for a year that we're not going to win that game.
For sure.
We've all said. So I think we should all try to remember that.
Yeah.
Nobody thought we were going to win, including every Nebraska fan. But, we've been talking about, God, the pain of these close losses. And that was one of my points. Like, you always want to lose. You'd rather take that close loss than this, because these ones, even if you know they're coming, they always feel worse, because you don't even feel like, when you watch a game where you don't have a chance, I don't know that I ever felt for 1 minute in that game that we had a chance. They drove down, made that, the score on that touchdown, and I go, oh boy. Then we throw it, like, game's over.
Right.
And you know it in your head. And that's a little bit hard when you don't feel like you can win.
Yes. Yeah, because it's first drive of the game for Michigan. They converted a 3rd and 1 and a 4th and 1.
Yep.
And then they have the incredible catch over Gifford. And then really the second play of the game for Nebraska offensively, ball gets batted in the air. Michigan is literally like, you ever seen a bunch of crocodiles or gators or like all like that ball hung in the air for seemingly, and there was just a bunch of like gators that would like, crocodile want it. And one guy,
the meat here.
The meat. And the guy makes a great catch.
Yeah.
But really, it was like when that ball got batted up in the air and they caught it, it was like, oh, this is so over. And even when they drive down and they get to the fourth and 1, and they go shotgun with Harburg and run the quarterback sneak and didn't. I still even think, let's say they convert that and score and it's 14-7. I still think the game unfolds probably how it unfolds.
Yeah.
So there were a few little moments in the first 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes of the game where it really didn't go Nebraska's way. But overall, I'm with you where like you can sit there and go like, man, if that ball doesn't get batted in the air, who knows? And if they convert the 4th down, listen, Nebraska had no prayer of stopping them.
I mean, when I watched the Minnesota game and when I watched the Colorado game, there were moments in the second and third quarters where I'm like, I think we're better than these teams.
I agree.
In a lot of ways. I think we're better than these teams in a lot of ways. There was not 1 second of 1 minute of that game I thought we might be better than them in any way. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
I really felt that way about Minnesota and Colorado. And Michigan is better than us at every position on the field on both sides of the ball. Yeah. I mean that. Person to person.
Yes.
Every single position.
There's not one player for Nebraska that
is better than one player on Michigan at that position across the field.
Think about that.
That's the state of this game where I don't know, maybe we still need to keep it in its own bucket like we always did. We always kind of put this in the Michigan bucket. We're not going to win that game.
Yes.
I think it's probably as a fan, the best thing you can do is to keep it in the Michigan bucket. But it's also, we got to be real with like what we're seeing right now and what that means for this program right now too.
But so it sounds like you're just saying like, hey, come on, it's Michigan. They're better. What did you expect? So do I need to back it down a little bit
for your sanity? Yes.
Yeah.
But the reality is that is like, let's talk about it. I mean, we're so bad on offense that like I don't even know what to say about the team because
but you know what's weird is yes, like the main issue is the offense. This is now the third. Do you realize Nebraska's played 5 games? They've been shut out in the first half of 3 of the 5 games.
Yeah.
Really let that sink in. And they were a Josh Fleek's 75-yard run away from being shut out for the first time since 1996.
Yeah, I mean, that really was a shutout.
Let's be real. They got shut out.
Yeah.
And so while the offense is the issue, that game was more disappointing with the defense to me.
Because Michigan was physical and you could tell we like it. They were dragging us on. The running backs were making us miss and were dragging us. We didn't tackle well for the first time. That was our first bad tackling game. And we just got pushed around. We couldn't get pressure. I mean, we couldn't get pressure to save our life.
No. And that's where to pat you on the back for where everybody, including me, was really excited about like some of the stats with the defense. I think through 2 weeks, they were leading the nation in sacks, maybe even first 3 weeks. Last 2 weeks, Louisiana Tech and Michigan, 0 sacks.
Yeah.
0.
Yeah.
And so I guess I just felt like, and maybe it's just because I maybe had an inaccurate, overinflated expectation from the defense. I thought the defense would keep them to hang around a little bit. And you could tell right away, whenever Michigan needed it, they were just going to line up. They're going to run Corum or Edwards, and they were going to get 5 a pop.
And they basically did. Yeah. I mean, one thing my brother says, just from a coach's point of view, though, is like Michigan is very, very difficult to get your run fits schemed up with them. They do a great job of scheming the run game. So every little thing that, you're doing, they're going to make it really difficult to fit up correctly. So you have to be very detailed with them. And I think this was the first exposure to a team that just really took advantage of that. Now, I think with the Tony White 3-3-5, I think, we were trying to say, okay, this is the test, but I still think I am a fan of what we're trying to do defensively, schematically. From what I've seen, even in this game, like, I don't dislike the scheme. I don't think it's the scheme. I don't think it's Tony White. I just think it's a little bit of like, I just think our defensive line can't pass rush, and I think we're still trying to play a lot of guys. And, there was that time, I don't know if you saw the play where like Bullock is up on the line.
Yeah.
And, we have Bullock, he's a glorified safety. Up on it was almost at like a 5 technique.
Right. And they ran right at him. And he got blown 7 yards off the ball. And that was they scored on that play.
Yeah.
That was the second touchdown of the game.
It's a little bit different if that is a linebacker like Stu Bradley.
Right.
That's Stu Bradley. You can put him there because he's like, he's such a big
45 pounds.
He's 6'4",
and he's
245.
Yeah.
He can go slide down the line. Like Bullock's 6 foot, 205 pounds or 210 pounds, right? Like that's a different animal. And like those type of teams take advantage of, you're just trying to take any personnel and put it anywhere. Like this is where we're going to have to become a deeper team that, and I think we're going to have to narrow down like who's on the field and win, because to beat teams like that, like they're going to take advantage of you trying to put guys in a position that they can't succeed at, right? And
certainly, I mean, it hurts to not have Luke Reimer. Singleton gets hurt on, was it the first play of the game?
Yes.
Singleton gets hurt.
And I hope
oh boy.
I hope we get him back, because like without him, it's going to get dicier.
Then Lenhart, the freshman pass rusher, he's to not have him as well. Like Reimer in particular, I mean, he's their best player on the defensive side of the ball. But yeah, Nebraska was the number 1 rush defense in the country. They were giving up only 46 yards a game. Michigan ran for 249 yards. And keep in mind, they pulled their starters after the first drive of the third quarter.
Yep.
Like that's where it just felt like, I don't know, like when stuff like that's happening, where it's like, oh, now Nebraska's the team where like they're sitting their starters after the first drive of the third quarter. You probably didn't probably go back and watch it on TV. At some point, I don't know how this happened, JJ McCarthy,
kissed his girl.
He's kissing his girlfriend on the sideline. Let's hope so. He'd be like, hey, girl, hey, come here. Or give me a smoochie. You like
he's just the coolest guy in the world.
I wish they would have.
Their quarterbacks are kissing hot chicks on the sideline. Guys, we need to rethink what we're doing here.
I would have loved if someone would have asked him after the game, like, so was it pretty cool to kiss your girlfriend there on the sideline? He'd been like, girlfriend? I'd have been like, this is great. This guy's fan. But it just is one of those things where it's like, that stuff gets hard when now you're the team that like, they're yucking it up on the sidelines. McCarthy's kissing his girlfriend. They're all pulling their starters at the start of the third quarter. They're eating corn, and you're just like, oh man, that's where it's at.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I do think watching Michigan, it put an image in my mind of like, God, is that not exactly what we want to be?
Basically, they're the finished version
of what Matt Rule, what Trev, like that is essentially what we want to be. What I assume we're trying to become is this sort of like power team, right? Like a team based on like good line play, physicalness, being very sound.
Yep.
And they have a little, like, JJ, they let him run a little bit. They let him scramble. They do a little bit, but it's mostly based off of, we're going to start with the run game, power run game.
That's where everything starts with their O-line and their run and running the football.
And that's what we want to be.
Yes.
And so watching them just do that to us, I mean, it's humbling.
Yeah.
And I think that's what maybe hurts about this loss more than anything is it's just like, oh, that's what we want to be.
Yeah. You mentioned the open field tackling was bad. Guys it was a combination of the two. There were guys that flat out missed, and then there were guys that got trucked.
Yeah.
And Michigan only punted one time. They went touchdown, 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 punt, touchdown, touchdown, starters pulled, field goal, touchdown, turnover on downs, ball game.
Yeah. I mean it was just like better players than our guys had ever seen. And I mean, it's not like we were just egregious with our errors. It was just like they were just better at every spot.
Right.
And so when they ran it, like they were breaking tackles and they were moving our guy. Like it was just sort of a systematic, like you just are getting beat.
I really thought Nebraska's defense would hang in there a little bit.
I was sort of up in the air with like, okay, what are we going to get? I was a little disappointed that we sort of got the, like, it didn't feel like this. Remember, like we talked about the 21 game. We lost that game. But like the image of Ben Stilley coming off the field, I didn't see that image from anybody. It didn't feel like that. Like the difference was it felt like a fist fight. Even though Michigan came out on top, it was like a fist fight. You're like, this could go either way. And it was like the last play of the fourth quarter. That felt like we went into the ring, we got bloodied, and we did not punch back.
Yes.
That's the difference. That's why it's
disappointing. I think that's the thing that is really disappointing. I'm just disappointed that it felt like there just never was a moment where Nebraska punched back and fought. And
we didn't fight at all on offense. And defense, I felt like we didn't fight as much as we should have.
Right.
It didn't feel like we were matching their physicality.
Yeah. It just
flat out. It just didn't.
Right.
It just didn't feel like it. Like we were not ready, even close to ready to play that team. And Nick, they are a well-coached team.
They had 0 penalties.
That's what I wanted to talk. I think that's what stood out to me is we get in the red zone, I think twice.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we got 2 penalties like we always do.
Yeah.
And that's our MO. I think we're a sloppy offense, and I think we have a knack. And this is where you can't put this on the coaches as much as like some of these players. It seems like our offensive line, they have a knack for penalties inside the red zone. Like get us in the red zone and they just start going like, oh boy, here we go.
I know.
False starts and holding. Like they find a way to kill drives in the red zone. And that is something I don't know what you do with that at this point. But
yeah. Okay. So this is what is hard to circle back to the hypocritical brain that I think at least I'm feeling with myself, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are as well, is we all do this thing where we talk about how Nebraska is a bowl team. They can go 6-6. They can go 7-5. Look at this schedule. Come on.
Yeah.
But then Nebraska goes and loses, or they play bad, or they're sloppy, or they get blown out. And then some people flip and go, well, what did everybody expect? I mean, Nebraska got a long way to go, and this is a rebuild. We got to be patient. And I guess for me, we all, and I am included in this, we all talk about a bowl game, and some even talk about making noise in the Big Ten West. We all do that thing like, hey, man, you never know what could happen here. But then we all line up and make every excuse in the world to explain away getting blown out and playing poor football.
Yeah.
It is really frustrating for me when I can be patient. I think we all can be patient, but it's got to get cleaner.
I think, and that's where I think I like what you're saying. You're talking about if you're fighting and we can see you're fighting, if you look like you are playing clean, good football and they're just better than you, which they are better than us, but we didn't play clean, tough football. We weren't competitive. We didn't feel competitive to me.
No, not at all. I mean, and listen, to be fair, it's not like the last year's Michigan game, Nebraska wasn't really competitive. Now, the one 2 years ago, that's the thing, that the image that I still feel like that was the moment. If Nebraska could have won that game in 2021, it just feels like Nebraska stood on that field with a team with I thought that Michigan team was better, by the way. They had Aiden Hutchinson there. I thought that team was better.
That defense was better. I mean,
Nebraska stood on that field and fucking Drago, Rocky, stood in the middle of it and
we threw punches
and had them bloodied and on the ropes.
Yeah.
And I couldn't help but contrast, man. And now that team went 3-9, so it's hard to argue, but it's man, Nebraska's a long ways away from that. And that felt like it was a long ways away from where Nebraska wants to be. Yeah. So that's the other disheartening thing is man, you just snapshot 21 against Michigan, and this year against Michigan, you're whew, going in the wrong direction, boys.
Yeah, 20. That's a great way to say it. 21 was the moment. I do think 21 was it was there was something in the air that we had a team that took all those good teams to the wire and had them all beat and pissed it all away. So there's something wrong with us in the sense of that. But we all know what we saw. We saw that. We saw the fight. We saw the ability to take the teams, and fight back and throw the punches. That's what's so still I think scarring about that 21 year is that we were that was these moments of mistakes that cost us 5 or 6 games that year. It was bizarre.
Yeah.
But it's hard now because we're going to have to compare a losing season that we felt better about than that.
I know. And so that's what's hard is people say like, oh my God, guys, you're still on the 21 Frost team. Get fucking over it. I hear you on that. And it's like, I also hear like that team was 3-9, but it was like they gave Oklahoma everything they fucking could handle. They gave Ohio State everything they could handle. They gave Michigan everything they could deal with. They gave Wisconsin everything they could.
And that's why Scott Frost gets another year, because we know what we saw. We saw us like how we play mattered as much as just the score, just the W and L's, right?
Yes.
W and L's matter, and that should be the standard to a degree, but like we also need to know what we're seeing. So I think we know what we saw last night. That doesn't mean though that like this thing has got no chance. It just means like this is where we're at. We know where we're at right now.
And here's I'll try to finish my mental, like this morning I went out on my deck and I just was like, had like a therapy session there. Like Robin Williams came out and was like, what's on your mind, sport? I was like, what are you fucking reading a new thing on what's this painting here? You think you fucking cool with your paint? Like it was
this painting here. Why don't you cut your ear off and call yourself Vincent?
And he was like, hey, sport, it's not your fault. And I was like, don't fucking do that.
Don't do that, Nebraska. You went 3-9. Don't do that. Don't say that.
Don't say that. 21, it was closer. Don't fucking.
Not your fault.
Not you.
It's not your fault.
That's pretty
not
much
your fault.
I got Goodwill Hunting this morning with myself. So here's what's hard. Rule, and this is like, I'm gonna look in the camera for this. We all need to stop this. Rule himself has said this isn't a year one. He said it. So we all need to stop doing this thing where we point to Temple and Baylor and go, well, look what he did in year one's there. They're like, this, like he himself before the season said, this doesn't feel like Temple Baylor year one. This is more like year two. He has said this. So I feel like we all need to stop being like, well, this is kind of what happens. And especially those teams played young players.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that's hard. While this is overall, player, when you just think about the 85 100-man roster, this is a young roster, but it's an older veteran starting lineup.
Yeah.
Newsom, Robinson, Reimer, Henrich, Kemp, Washington, Anthony Grant, the entire starting offensive line, John Bullock, Gunnarsson, Polar Bear, Omar Brown, Singleton, before they even hurt, Gabe Irvin, Ramir Johnson. All those guys are in their 3rd or 4th or 5th year of college. They aren't young.
Yeah.
They're not. This is an older starting 22.
Yep.
And so it just gets hard to get stuck in this cycle of just wait till next year. Just wait. Like at some point, you got to start showing progress and improvement. And this team has been, well, I didn't expect them to win yesterday. This team has been sloppy all year. And you do need to start winning some games. Like not saying go win 10 games and play for a Big Ten title, but I've talked about this for like the last decade. That's also what I thought Chattel's column was telling, where he was like,
I read Chattel's today. It was good.
He read it. He started basically like, I've written this article 20 times. And that's how I feel like what I'm about to say, I've said 50 fucking times.
And that's what's wearing on people, Nick.
Yes.
I think that is like people are hitting a threshold right now where it has almost nothing to do with Matt Rule.
It has nothing to do with him.
To do with this
It really
team.
Does.
It's like their patience is almost up. I feel like
that's what it feels like
with just losing, and that's where it's almost not fair to Matt Rule because it is just like we've lost for 20 years, and in particular, the past 8 to 10. Yeah, it's really 8 to 10. I mean,
really from 2015, for basically ever since Pelini left, it's been really, really not good.
Yes.
So, like, one thing that I've talked about I've done 50 radio segments on this, podcast segments of just, we all think there's this world you can live in where you can go 3 wins, 4 wins, 3 wins, 5 wins, and then you're a consistent 10, 11 win season that is in a conference championship discussion like every year. That's not usually how it works. Like you got to start, like you got to start getting to 6 wins and then to 7 wins and then to 8 wins. Like what I'm saying is, like, you can have realistic expectations, but still acknowledge that at some point you do need to start winning. And which now leads me to this stretch. I was going to save this for our midweek pod, but I think it's important to talk about this because I feel like I'm Johnny Negative here. This now to me is the stretch.
Yeah.
This feels like the last 7 games here feels like the more appropriate and fair way to judge where things are going.
Yeah.
Because if you let's stop for a second, let's all take a deep breath and let's think about the first 5 games of the season. Okay. We all listen, program that's been struggling, new staff, new head coach, new quarterback, new offense, new defense, all that stuff. We all agreed starting at Minnesota, difficult, right?
Yep.
You go then to your rival Colorado and you just run into a meteor. Like you run into like the biggest story in football, Deion Sanders. Then you play 2 bad non-power 5 teams in Northern Illinois and Louisiana Tech. And then you play a team in Michigan that could win the national championship.
Yeah, they're one of the 3 best teams in the country.
That's what I think. So I say all that to say it's maybe not the most fair and accurate 5 games in the world to learn a ton about this team. So then when you stop and go, okay, the next 7 games, Nebraska is going to play teams that are all flawed and they're all dealing with some crap.
Yeah.
Illinois, losing record, 2-3. They needed a last-second field goal to beat Toledo in the first game. They got beat pretty good at Kansas. They barely beat Florida Atlantic and got crushed at Purdue on Saturday, 44-19.
Yep.
Northwestern, losing record, 2-3. They did rally to beat Minnesota at Minnesota, but they're still dealing with a lot. They've lost Pat Fitzgerald.
Yep.
Problems. Purdue, losing record, 2-3. Fresno State beat them at Purdue to start the year, and it's a first-year head coach, first-time head coach.
Yep.
Michigan State, losing record, 2-3. Mel Tucker. Imagine being a player on that team right now, where your coach is wrapped up in this crazy scandal. Head coach fired mid-season. They're dealing with a lot. Wisconsin, they've been pretty solid. They do have a new head coach.
Yep.
Maryland, they're 5-0. They've looked pretty good, but it's still Maryland. It's not Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State.
Yep.
And then Iowa, who has been awful on offense. Cade McNamara, their starting quarterback, got hurt last night. We're recording this on a Sunday morning. Not sure what the severity of it is, but they got their own set of issues.
How'd the game finish?
They won. In the most Iowa way possible. Game tied 16-16 with about 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. They return a punt for a touchdown. Iowa. And then Michigan State comes out, and on the second play, guy catches a pass, a bunch of guys rally, poke the ball out, recover, ball game. It's Iowa. So they win the game with a punt return and then forcing
and that's how
they do it, man.
And I'm so impressed with them, and it pisses me off. It just pisses me off.
I know. So I say all that saying, I know I'm talking a lot. So here, I'm going to give you space here. No, I say, like, okay, Nebraska's got 5 games under their belt. Their guys are getting real game reps, right? They're playing in the system. And now they're going to play that 7-game stretch of opponents that I just laid out that are all flawed, that are all dealing with some stuff. Okay. So I think what I'm saying is that I think it's going to be a more fair way to judge Nebraska and judge the progress over the course of these next 7 games, more so than the first 5.
Yes, I think absolutely. First of all, I'm looking at the schedule. I'm like, God, this is a good schedule.
I know.
And
it'll never get eaten.
We'll never have a better schedule than this in the rest of our Big Ten life.
Period. Lock it down. It'll never be as easy. That's not to say that, again, full well understand that Nebraska has its own issues, but it'll never be easier. These last 7 games, it'll never get easier than it is right now.
Yeah. It's funny, Matt Rule, he said something in the paper today that was one of the first sort of, like, I would call it statements that he's ever made. Like, he kind of throws something down almost, right? Like, he says, you're going to find out a lot about us, what kind of team we are Friday. Mm-hmm. You're going to find out a lot about me Friday. was like, whoa, that's
I
pretty,
know.
for a
That's
guy that's been pretty reserved about making, he's been about the process and the day-by-day stuff, which I like. This was his first sort of like, you're going to find out a lot this week.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that was
I was like, whoa, okay. That was a standout to me. I go, okay, Matt Rule. I'm not against him doing that, saying things like that, but that's, when you lay it down, you lay it down.
Yeah, I was struck by that because he has been. He's certainly not vanilla because he's always
not hedging his bets there, though, right?
Yeah, but that was that's putting the microscope and putting the spotlight on him and the team here.
Yeah, I mean, it's saying something.
And so I just the other thing to think about, because it can go both ways. How many people after the 0-6 start for Frost? How many people thought that they were gonna? There probably weren't a lot of people that thought they were gonna win, going 4-2 in their last 6 games.
Yeah.
It can also go the other way. I mean, there could be times where I want to say in 2019, they started 4-2. No one could have predicted that they were only going to win one more game for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, even think about like last year, after the Oklahoma loss, and Frost is fired, Chenander gets fired, they had lost to Georgia Southern.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody thought this team's going to get to 5 wins, be competitive in every game except Michigan, and go to Iowa at the end of the year and beat Iowa.
Yeah.
So I say that like who you are today is not necessarily who you're going to be at the end of the year.
And I find
good and bad.
I usually I always find that like the good coaches can start bad and their teams can finish strong. I find that's like a trait in a good coach, that they can take a team and sort of like, as the year starts off bad, they don't let it collapse. It actually turns into something good. You know what I'm saying? Like I always think about like the Belichick teams. Like they never just fall apart. They can start. I've seen those teams start bad, and then over the years, and they like they always rally. They always find a way to do that, right? So, I do think this could tell us a lot about Matt Rule. Like, I think that is what I want to see for the rest of this year, is like, I don't really care if it's 5 or 6 or 7 wins or whatever, right? Like, I want to see that team get better throughout the year.
I do too.
Clean, they don't play clean football. They seem to piss down their pants if they get in the red zone. Like, show me you can play good, clean, competitive football. Show me improvements. And I think that's all I need to see. Like I would love it if I could be this like, it's got to be 8 wins or it's not good enough. And like I'm trying to be more realistic than that. We've got to a place where I want to see us getting better.
Yeah.
And if I don't, then I'm just like, then I really don't know what to tell people.
Yeah, because it's one thing. I think we all can see how void of talent Nebraska is offensively, in particular at the skill spots. Like we all can see that.
Yes.
But that doesn't excuse false starts. I mean, Harburg, I'm not sure what happened on. There was a snap that he dropped. Did he drop that snap?
I think,
or was it a bad snap?
It was a bad snap.
It's like stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's got to stop. We brought it up last week. Like it's like once a game, the quarterback goes one direction and the running back goes the other. Like there's a blown play.
Yeah.
That like that's the kind of stuff that has nothing to do with your raw talent.
Yeah, and that's and so this is where our OC, I think our OC's, there's a little bit of a question mark to me. Like, how good is he?
I agree.
How good is he, and how much does he is he going to affect this team in a positive way going forward? Like I think there's a lot of question marks. Like sometimes I think we think of like he gets kind of forgotten in the whole process, but like he has a lot of sway on what this offense is and how they function. And I feel like maybe Rule kind of overshadows him, but like this offensive coordinator, he needs to be responsible for this like lack of production.
For again, scoring 0 points
and the sloppiness, like how and when and where he calls plays, that all is a big part of what's going on. If you have this sort of inept offense, like I'm looking at you.
Yeah. I mean, by the way, we kind of glossed over it. I feel like the most, if there was one part of the game that was discussed a lot because it was the only moment where some people felt like Nebraska still maybe had a chance to make it kind of interesting. What'd you think of the 4th and 1? They call timeout. Out of the timeout, they go shotgun quarterback sneak.
I don't know that I love the play call, right?
Yeah.
But I'll say this: the decision to go for it in that moment, because I like thought about it, like why I was there. I was like, okay, I'm like, they're going for it. Is this the right call? And I'm in the stadium in the moment feeling was it's 14-0.
You're playing.
We have nothing to lose. There's almost no chance to win this game. But there's definitely no chance if you don't score a touchdown right now. For some reason, I was like,
I was fine.
Normally, 3 is like, just take the points.
Right.
But for some reason, that game was like, not this game. This game, it's like, if you don't score here and drastically change the momentum, we really don't have a chance to win. So I actually thought it was the right move to even give yourself a chance to win, because a field goal in this game doesn't win you the game. So if you're playing to win, and I actually respected Matt Rule. I think he thought the same thing. That's the only way to win this game is scoring right there.
I agree. Yeah, I completely 100% agreed with the decision to go for it. I didn't love, it's just, I'll never fully understand when you're 4th and a yard, why go shotgun in that spot. For like, if you're going to sneak it, just sneak it.
Yeah. And everybody in the world knew we were going straight ahead. Like, it's one thing if you have the option to go like zone read with a side, like,
see, that's what's weird is
didn't do that.
When they came out in because they called timeout and they came out in shotgun, I actually thought, oh, well, I was expecting something on like like a zone read on the perimeter, or maybe even like like play action. Fedoni slips out. Like, I actually thought, oh, they're shotgun. Maybe they're not going to. I mean, because they basically just ran shotgun and Harburg. I think he wanted to kind of go over the top, but he just kind of got caught in between.
Yeah, sometimes it's like when like the wall is taller than you think you are. You're like, what? Visually, think about visually. It's like if everybody's low, you're like, I can do this. When like you got 6'8", guys all like standing tall. It's like the high jump bar.
Yeah,
You've seen the high jump bar. You're like, I got to jump
that.
Over that. Like, I think you realize like, oh, I can't do that.
Right. I didn't love, I'm not going to go crazy over it, but I didn't love the shotgun element of it. But I liked the decision to go for it.
That's my exact feeling.
You had to go for it there. I mean, a field goal was going to get you nothing. Okay, we got a bunch of. I want to get to. There's a few other little plays with the game I want to talk about, and then there was a pretty important guest that was at the game, and then there's a couple other things I want to get to before we wrap it up. But I got to tell you about Onyx Automotive. Again, they are the #1 luxury car dealer in Omaha. They offer industry-leading brands: BMW, Jaguar, Land Rover. Great location, 150th and Dodge, and they got a little bit of everything for you. Whether you want brand new, pre-owned, they got the service team there. They offer a bottle of wine with every vehicle purchase. They really try to give that luxury feel. You go online at Onyx Automotive, and I'm doing it right now. You can scroll through the vehicles, and there are some smooth-looking cars. So if you want that luxury vehicle and luxury treatment, Onyx Automotive is the spot for you. Again, 150th and Dodge, online, onyxautomotive.com. That's onyxautomotive.com. Drive Onyx, the new standard. And we're brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors. The comfort and confidence you should feel putting Pella Windows into your home should be just through the roof. I mean, they put their windows through all sorts of testing: extreme heat, extreme cold, extreme weather with rain. I mean, you should see some of the videos of some of the stuff they're doing to their windows before they actually get installed to your home. And you're going to get a Pella expert that is going to be able to install the windows, and it's done right. And listen, that all makes a difference with how the windows function, your heating and cooling bills, all those sorts of things. But if you don't know where to begin, 2 places for you to go: either the showroom in Omaha or Lincoln, or you can schedule a free in-home consultation. It's going to be free, where you get a Pella expert out. They're going to be able to talk to you. You can talk about your needs, your budget, your wants, all those kinds of things. And they're going to put a plan together for you that fits and works. Best people around are at Pella. Go to PellaOmaha.com. That's PellaOmaha.com. And again, Shoot 360 Lincoln. Go to shoot360.com/Lincoln. Fill out that official recruiting visit form, the official free workout that you can get. Everybody gets a free workout. And I'm telling you, it's for me. The moment I stepped inside of one of these things, my brother and I are owning it. I was. If you're a basketball lover, you absolutely are. Like, it strikes a chord with you. They got NBA level technology all throughout the entire facility, can be used by players of all ages and skill levels, third grade, fourth grade rookies, college level pros. Shoot 360 will unlock your game. It's a place to come get reps, over 300 shots. You can get up in 30 minutes. On the passing walls, you get some really cool stuff where you're being judged on your accuracy of your passes, your reaction time, and your decision making. So all of a sudden, a bunch of targets pop up. You got to decide which target's the one to hit, and then how fast you get the ball out of your hands, how accurate it is. The passing walls are fantastic. So check us out. Shoot360.com/Lincoln. Shoot360.com/Lincoln and become a member. Okay, Bo Ruud. Some of the overall, like, offensively, I wanted to get your thoughts on it. A couple of things. First of all, they couldn't run the ball. 106 yards rushing, 74 or 5 of it were from that Fleeks run. So basically, they had like 30 yards rushing.
Yeah.
Grant, I think, only had
6 carries for 16 yards.
I'm telling you, did it not? I wonder if they were like, this is what the conversation was in the headset. They were like, okay, guys, we can't run the ball. What we can't have happen is Grant get hurt in this game. Like, let's save some licks on him here.
I don't know, but 6 carries for your best offensive weapon. I mean, we could not run the ball. I mean, we tried a few. I mean, we could not even come close to getting him some space.
Harburg quarterback run game. Kind of like what it just was kind of non-existent. I don't know what, like, it seemed like they didn't even necessarily try it. Now, I know everything changes when you get down 14-21 nothing right away. Yeah. Were you a little surprised that we didn't see as much of it?
I mean, Nick, it was just like,
yeah, what are you going to do? I mean,
I just don't think we could do anything. It didn't, like, we actually, like, we threw it, on some slants and some deep crosses we found. Those were our couple plays that we actually connected on, got some yards. First down, had some good first downs.
The first, I think it was the first play of the third quarter.
Yeah. So
had a deep ball, and
Billy Kemp had a nice little catch and run. So, I mean, it was good to see those two guys. Like, they looked decent yesterday. So that's good that those two guys are starting to find a little their footing. So that was good. And then Fedoni had a catch or two. And I know you said, thank you for everything you've done for the game.
And we'll continue to do.
Thank you for everything that you will do for the game. And, we'll see you in Canton very soon. So,
no, you're right. They had more. They actually made some chunk plays through the air that I was like, okay.
Well, and Harburg throwing the ball where it needs, like, it's good to see him. But it's like, it's also like,
I was going to ask you about the what do you make of the, I mean, it's 3.
I put it on the quarterback when you get like that interception, that's on him.
Yeah.
Like, getting a bunch of balls knocked down, that's on him. The linemen, to a degree, getting the
engaged
defense, but like when you're staring too long and you're not, like, it's always like quick release and finding you got to find the windows. That's good quarterbacks do not get their balls batted down all the time.
Yeah, because it was something that stood out to me in the first couple of times watching him throw against Northern Illinois. Like, he does kind of have like a little sidearm, almost baseball type delivery, and to get 3 passes batted down, a little concerning.
Yeah, to me, it's like when you get one of the first passes of the game knocked down, I was go, oh, they're just reading you, and it's too easy.
So I wrote down, the plays that define the game early on. We've gone through a bunch of them. There were, the thing that's crazy though is there were a couple of, yes, Michigan converted a bunch of 3rd and 1s and 3rd and 2s, but they also converted some 3rd and longs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so after Nebraska goes for it on 4th and 1 at the Michigan 12-yard line and gets stuffed, Michigan answered with a 9-play, 88-yard touchdown drive. But Nebraska had Michigan at 3rd and 7 right away and couldn't get off the field. And that's where that pass rush was non-existent. I mean, McCarthy just had all day. How about the the play where Nebraska punts, the Michigan punt returner muffs the catch. Nebraska somehow doesn't have enough guys around it to recover it. And the guy's able to muff the catch, get the ball, and return it like 30 yards. It's just like stuff like that. You go,
we don't make any plays. You notice that?
Yeah,
this is probably the biggest concern I have with this team, which I hope is not going to be the case in the future, is like, I just don't see us ever making plays. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like our receivers will get open and catch the ball and, you know, but like nobody, like Michigan was breaking a tackle or two. They're beating a defender and sacking our quarterback, or they're like, see that defensive end that just like railroaded our tight end on that QB draw. And like, he took our tight end like into the quarterback, like it's an amazing play, but like, and like all these teams have guys that make plays, and we just don't have guys that are like we don't have those like next level guys that make the big play. Like we just don't have splash plays ever.
Right. I know.
You notice that? Like,
any opportunity
that's probably the thing I noticed. Like we have a bunch of guys that are like, okay, but like we don't have a great player on this team.
No,
not one.
Well, even the ball that got batted up in the air and the Michigan defensive lineman catches it. Like, am I confident that if Ty Robinson, Polar Bear, and Blaze Gunnerson are all around that ball, that one of them's catching it?
I've seen a lot of tip balls around our defense,
and they don't catch them.
Nobody's catching them. Like whatever the instinct for making the play and on offense and defense, like I just don't think we got the guys that are either A, good enough, or B, to have the instincts to like make the play, close when you're in the red zone, like you know, like hold the line when it's at the end of the game, like all those things. I just think we got good players and no great players.
Right.
That's why we're not like a super exciting team to watch, because I don't think there's a guy we're like, oh, I'm watching. Like you don't have your people, you're just watching.
Right.
Like, wait till he gets it. Wait till this guy gets the ball.
Or he gets around the ball.
Yeah, or this defender, it's time to pass rush. Yeah. So we're watching. Like we just don't have we don't have anybody really.
By the way, did you see our boy Tommy Hill just got stuck on that kickoff? Like
Tommy is let's see how excited he is to return the next one.
I mean,
that was like
that dude came like that Michigan player went to John Ruud kickoff coverage camp. It was like just sprint and
destroy,
knife through. And
did you see John Ruud made the? You didn't go to the game, did you? So the tickets all had John Ruud on it.
Oh,
so every ticket in Memorial Stadium would have a John Ruud
hit thing
talking about the hit. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that makes me.
So it was great.
No idea how happy that makes me.
I didn't know that was the case, but
that's fantastic.
John Ruud made the ticket.
John Ruud made the ticket, and
the legend continues.
And John had to have been incredibly proud of that Michigan kickoff coverage guy, because that dude knifed through there and stuck homeboy.
Yeah, there was a tribute to John Ruud, and unfortunately, it was on the Michigan side.
The other way around. The other guy, Javen Wright, had a rough game. There were a couple of big missed tackles, like on the final touchdown drive of the half for Michigan. It was 2nd and 13. I think Ty Robinson got a TFL, pushed him back. 2nd and 13. They threw it to, I think, a tight end. Javen Wright misses a tackle. It gets to 11-yard gain. Yeah. It's 3rd and 2. Then they convert it. And then even on Michigan's first touchdown drive of the third quarter, Nebraska had Michigan at 3rd and 10. And a Michigan receiver catches the ball short of the first down, and Javen Wright misses a tackle. Like, so there were moments to like
that. Those kind of plays are what were disappointing me this game. Like that to me was like the first time we didn't tackle. We just, I mean, like it felt like we were just like, we just didn't show up.
Well, and I feel like what happened after, so 3rd and 10, they convert it. Javen Wright missed the tackle. They get the first down. And then it was like, everybody kind of went, ugh, because then Corum, then that was the possession where they decided, like, I think they were like, let's get Corum a little bit of juice here.
This is like our Heisman hopeful. We're going to get him a touchdown.
Basically, it was like, okay, this is the last possession for these starters. Let's give it to Corum 6 straight times. And then Corum just started trucking people.
Yeah.
And then, boom, touchdown, 35-0. Thanks for flying United. Get home safely.
I always noticed that too. It's like when teams have one really good guy and he is like a potential Heisman, it's always known like, we must pad this stat here. Like he needs the touchdowns for the stats.
Yes. Oh, I thought it was. I thought it was clear in the third quarter with that drive. Once they converted that third down, they're like, okay, let's get Blake a bunch of carries here.
Yeah.
And then they ran a million ISOs and he started to get loose. He was trucking guys. He was making guys miss.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's unfortunate. By the way, because we're talking about that, the issues in the red zone, because it was unfortunate. Nebraska's first drive of the third quarter, you get the long post to Mr. First Down himself. But did you see Grant fumbled on the sideline and somehow the ball goes forward 4 or 5 yards and Ben Scott gets it?
Yeah.
So that's where we talk about like Nebraska can't catch a break. Kind of caught a break there.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, that's bad. I mean, Grant, we don't want fumbleitis.
No, because then
he needs to go take some
fumbleitis pills.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is. Then Grant has the false start on 3rd and 2. It was Grant that jumped. And then it's 3rd and 7. Harburg gets sacked. And then here comes Tristan Alvano, misses a 40-yard field goal. And it's hard because he's
fumbles and penalties going like when you cross the 50, you're going like that's this like
they got inside the red zone and it's fumble, false start. Now all of a sudden it's a long field goal and you miss it.
That's the stuff about this offense. I just go like when you don't got a bunch of talent, you can't be sloppy and uneasy team, and we get sloppy, we get uneasy when we get into critical situations. And it's like, that's a bad combination.
Couple more things and we'll get out of here. We did bring it up. It was interesting to think about that this Nebraska avoided a shutout with that late Fleeks touchdown. The last shutout was 96 at Arizona State. Nebraska lost 19-0. That loss is on the short list of most astonishing losses. I mean, we were like 12 years old. Yeah. And I remember just being like
that one.
Because you had come off of 94, 95 and even like 93, like Nebraska just felt like they hadn't lost in forever. I mean, when you're 12, 2 years is like,
it was like that's half of your life. You're like,
I feel like Nebraska never lost.
I've never seen Nebraska lose.
I've never seen it happen. By the way, John Bishop was tweeting out the last time Nebraska was shut out at home was 1968. So it'd have been quite the streak to break. The big thing was, did you see a certain someone was at the game? You probably didn't see it because you're not on social media and you were at the game. Dylan Raiola was at the game. And it's frustrating that like Dylan Raiola's there and you put out that performance.
Well, I guess
he's already committed to but I'm just saying you always want to, it's like you were dating a girl, then she goes and dates someone else and like she sees you a month later and you want to be like looking good and you're making like you're in a good light. So she's like, I miss him. Did I make a mistake? Stacy, it's Brenda. I think I made a mistake. Okay, I'm sorry. We don't need to stop it.
I mean, here's the thing, though. It's like, here's what you got to remember about Dylan, right? His uncle is on the staff.
No, I'm not. Yes. Are you getting it? Like, I'm not saying there was. I know he was totally there to support his uncle. I'm not insinuating that he was.
But I also think you don't have to impress him like that.
Okay, maybe you're right. Yeah,
you know why? Because his uncle is on the staff. So his uncle is like in a constant communication with Dylan's father in a way that's like there's no misunderstanding. It's very understood.
Okay, that makes me feel a little better.
Coming here is like the Raiolas were like, the best thing for your future career is to go to Georgia. That's the discussion between the family, and having to tell your brother and your uncle like, we're not coming to you because this is the best thing for us. But if something doesn't go wrong here, maybe we'd come there. That's sort of where they're at. I don't think it like if the fans are, the performance of the play, like I think they understand exactly what what they would be getting into if they came here.
Okay.
You know
Because
what I'm
I just
saying?
was thinking like, and I'm certainly not insinuating that Nebraska could flip him. Like, I'm more so thinking like, if for some reason he goes to Georgia and it doesn't go well
completely.
and he hits the portal, like, I just think every impression matters. I get that he's unique in that it's a different kind of situation because his uncle's on the staff and his dad played there. There's not anything about Nebraska that is he doesn't understand.
Yeah.
It was like, oh man, to see you always want to put yourself in the best light as you can.
Yeah.
And
agreed.
That certainly wasn't
I actually
that.
think of all the recruits, it matters less with him.
You're probably right.
Really, I do. I mean,
Right.
it doesn't matter.
But I also feel like you look at that and you go like, did that look like a situation that he wanted to be involved with at all? Probably not.
No. And losing like that helps no one, right?
And even just looking at that offense and looking at that.
The question is, then you go like, then you start going. I mean, the issue is almost like you need to get quarterbacks to get the receivers, but like to recruit the quarterbacks, you wish you had some weapons to offer them.
It's a chicken or the egg thing. It's like, do you get the quarterback to get the receivers, or do you need to get some better receivers to attract a better quarterback? Like, there is a little bit of.
I think it's like you got to get. Maybe you got to get the good receivers to get the good quarterback first.
I don't know, but it is wild to like, you watch Colorado and USC, and you just like the wide receivers on that field compared to what then you watch with Nebraska. You're like, whoa,
yeah. And I watched Old Miss last night, and they beat LSU, and God, I'll tell you what, they just got skill guys everywhere. And they just, it's like, the ball's out, just throw it to them in space, and like
they catch
everybody's hard to tackle.
Oh.
Everybody's, it's like, gosh, it's like we don't have one of those guys, and they got just like a cupboard full of them. Like, some cinnamon and a little bit of turmeric here.
They get so much yak, it's crazy.
I mean,
they be yakking.
Yakety yak, don't talk back.
Yakety yak. But so I wanted to bring up that Royal was at the game. I saw him and I was like, it's not like this usually. I usually shave and I have a suit on.
I didn't know you'd be here.
I didn't even know you'd be here. I'm sorry. I have this pizza stain on my shirt. And how you been, by the way?
Like
that's what it felt like. I've
been good. I mean, I've just been doing my thing. I've just been
working on myself. Like really focused on me and what I need to do.
I wasn't fired. I actually quit because they don't get it. And so, I've just been just working on my art project, and things are great. I mean, I need to clean a little bit, but
oh my God, I wasn't fired. I actually quit. That's perfect. That's what it was like. Basically, our dream girl popped in at our apartment.
Things haven't been good for us. Things haven't been going well, but we don't let her know that.
Just sweatpants, pizza stains, clearly unemployed.
What's going on?
Oh no. Yeah, like no, I couldn't be better.
Stuff up. You can sit here. I'm great.
You need something to drink? I don't have much. I got some Busch Light. If
you didn't answer any of my emails,
that's what it was.
You left 300 of them.
Oh man,
I was going through some things then. I'm better now, though.
I wasn't fired. I quit. Moving newspapers and magazines,
pizza boxes everywhere.
You got like a Playboy and a Hustler that you're like moving it. Oh, hold on. Sorry.
Okay.
Oh, no, my buddy brought those over. I would never look at those. Oh boy. Okay. All right. Okay. We'll wrap it up with this. It is. What do you think this week will be like now? Because we talked about it. It just felt like it was a weird week for me. There was no buzz for the game. Everybody made it sound like that the atmosphere certainly didn't. Now it was abnormally hot.
Yeah, it was hot, but it was Michigan, Nick. It was Michigan.
You get blown out 45-7. I don't know. There's a weird feeling in the air right now.
It's what we were talking about. It's the feeling of a decade of irrelevance.
Yeah.
A decade of losing. Fairly patient fans are running low on patience. all we need, as always, is any glimmer of hope, right? They go win a couple of Big Ten West games against bad teams. Doesn't matter. That's hope.
Yeah.
Nick,
No, I mean,
our fans in
every
one
game
day will flip everything. If you show us something, anything that shows us that we're making progress. A Big Ten win will do that of any kind. If we win Big Ten games, Nick, our fans will start going. I mean, I remember we beat Rutgers last year, and we beat Rutgers,
Indiana at home,
and we're like, pumped. Mickey's the truth. Yes. Give him the job. Right. I mean, it's all we need. It's similar. If we win, a couple of these games here, Nebraska fans will come back super excited.
The next 4 are, I mean, the 4 of the 7 final games, the next 4 are the easier than the final 3. I mean, you got Illinois, Northwestern, Purdue, then at Michigan State.
Yeah.
Big stretch. But it just they got to show it's an interesting moment for Husker football. I always said heading into the year that fans are not going to be as patient as you think they will be, or they should be. And that is proving to be true more so than I even thought. And I can only speak for myself. I feel like, and again, the thing that's hard about this, and you said it at the start, like a lot of this stuff is not Matt Rule's fault. It's not Matt Rule's fault that Nebraska has been so bad for a long stretch here. This isn't necessarily about him.
This is Riley and Frost's era that Rule's sort of paying the price for. So I have not given up on Rule.
No, not at all.
I don't plan to. I want to give him some time, but I agree. His leash is shorter because of them and what the previous teams have done. But it's still like the right thing is still the process of like letting him build a team and see what it is. But yeah, it's just, it couldn't have started worse for him.
No.
So that's where, hey, he's in control of what he can control, and it hasn't gone well so far.
And in his defense, and not to make excuses, because geez Louise, we have been in the excuse business we become excellent at making excuses over the course of
pretty good.
But I mean, they have caught, like we've said, they thought they were going to have Xavier Betts. He quits the team in the middle of camp. They thought they were going to have Garcia Castaneda hurts first game. They thought they're going to have maybe Gilbert. He decides to, become a wet bandit. A brick bandit. He became the brick bandit. They thought they lose their top 2 running backs, Gabe Irvin and Ramir Johnson. Mm-hmm. For their biggest, toughest opponent, they lose their best player on defense. They had one of their best pass rushers, and Singleton's is he their best secondary guy? I mean, he's probably played the best.
Yeah, he's had a good start.
So they lose. However you feel about Sims, the guy they wanted at quarterback has struggled. They then have to go to Harburg. Like, it has been literally like whatever can go wrong has kind of gone wrong so far.
Yeah.
But so that's where you got a big opportunity here where you're going to play a very depleted, struggling Illinois team. You're going to get a bye to kind of catch your breath, get healthy, and then you got a nice stretch here. So it can happen, I suppose, but it just has been, because I even wonder, like, part of me feels like it's not that Rule looks like he's not confident, but I do feel like he's lost a little bit of his, like, that swagger and that bravado that he had all off season and even leading up to the year. Like, you can tell it's taken a hit a little bit.
I think he's run into the, how hard it is to make things go right here. Right. I don't know.
It's unbelievable, dude.
I just don't
how can
know
this keep happening?
What it is.
I don't know.
It is such a amazing feat that we can be whatever it is we've become. This team that is good enough to look a certain way, but never win. Such a weird.
And then they can have moments where it's really bad.
And then, then you have some real,
Then you have moments where when it really goes
all these
poorly.
moments where you get really close to something great, and then it doesn't go your way, and then these moments they just go.
Then you fall way back into the pit.
We never get a great moment. We just don't get a great one.
It is wild.
Every team in America gets a great one over 10 years. They get that one win.
Isn't that wild?
Oregon State's ranked now. It's what are we talking about?
I know.
How? What do you mean?
But that's the thing where I also, not to get all go back in and talk to, how you doing, sport? You know, we don't need to get back into that here.
It's not your fault.
It's not your fault. But that's the thing where I do sometimes am like, how come it can never, we act like it's just, it takes forever and it's going to be, but like Oregon State's ranked, Kansas, they took it on the chin to Texas yesterday, but like Kansas is now like, Kansas is better than Nebraska. Like, I don't know. I think we all know that it's complicated to become a good winning football program, but it's not as complicated as we're making it out to be.
With the infrastructure that we have, this Nebraska infrastructure, it shouldn't be this hard. Nick, I mean, we have, like, you go to a game, the production we have, the facilities, the support, the fans, it's insane. It is insane what we give, and it's insane what is given back. And not in terms of like we deserve this, but like,
no, but
how are we not better with all that we can provide the people that can play and coach here?
You're so right. Like, and again, this is all, we're going to have to go to maybe we do a mailbag on midweek pod or something like that. Have some fun with that. But because I was going to talk about this in our midweek pod, but it's too perfect to bring it up. Like, it is interesting. On the heels of Nebraska opened that $165 million practice facility last month, $165 million. Trev proposes a $450 million renovation to Memorial Stadium.
Yeah.
So now you're getting into the $500 million of investment into the football program.
Yeah.
Nebraska continues to fill that stadium and keep the sellout streak alive. 90,000 people every single Saturday. I guess at some point, it's amazing the amount of investment there has been, both tangible and intangible, into the football program that has just not returned anything at all to the people that have invested into it.
Yeah, it's like all these teams, like even in the Big Ten West, like you go to Northwestern and Illinois and Minnesota and Iowa State, Kansas. Every one of these teams, they're not what we are historically, but they at least have a year or two or three somewhere in there. They're like, things go well. They get a good team. This is their year. They win their division or they win 9 games. I mean, Iowa State had their moment. Minnesota had their moment.
Iowa's had their moments.
Kansas had their moment last year.
Kansas State
had their moment. Everybody's having a moment, and the team that has the most history and has the most support
and the most investment
can't have a moment.
And so
that's the part that I hear the announcers when they talk about it, they're almost like, what?
Yeah.
They don't even know what to say about it.
No, I know. And I'm not one of those guys, like, this isn't necessarily like me upset at Trev. I'm not upset at Trev, but it's like, man, I feel like, and it's not his fault, because there's a timeline to proposing this, and they had
already in motion.
And things are already in motion, and they had to talk about it because it's going to be at the Board of Regents itinerary when they next meet. So like, it's not necessarily his fault, but man, it's a bad time to talk about a $500 million investment into Memorial Stadium. And I'm not saying it's not wrong. Memorial Stadium does need probably a facelift. There needs to be amenities, and that's all true.
Yeah,
but it's a bad look.
It's just unfortunate, Nick. I mean, here's the thing. It's like if we win 6 games, the announcer, it's like, whoa. It's like, but like, to me though, like, I like it. You know why I like it? Because he's investing in Nebraska.
Yeah, like, what are the choices you have?
I don't know anything other than like, let's just keep going all in and give us every chance. And the odds should tell me that we should have, like, it should swing around for us. It's just amazing that it hasn't. I think what I'm pointing out is not that, like, I don't feel like I'm owed anything.
No, I'm not necessarily saying that.
Nobody owes me anything. Nobody owes, but like, it's amazing that it hasn't happened.
Yeah. And I guess to me, it's amazing when you stop and think about how much Nebraska fans and Nebraska in general have invested into this program, both tangibly with dollars.
Yeah.
And that is showing in, sellout streaks, Memorial Stadium being full, the new practice facility, the proposed $500 million renovation Memorial Stadiums. And then the fact of tangibly investing, all the people that are still into this thing with Nebraska football, invested into it emotionally, all that stuff. Just that's the thing that's amazing to me is like, we're getting like to unprecedented levels of investment with nothing, no return on it. It's nothing back for you.
It's incredible. It's really incredible. This is going to be the story. I mean, hopefully this thing will get turned around one day, and we'll have to explain this in 30 years to like the next generation. Be like, you don't understand what happened. It was beyond anybody's capability to like process. Yeah. I think Nebraska fans right now are probably going, am I crazy? Are we all crazy?
It feels a little like
it doesn't make sense.
No,
that's the biggest thing about the 10 years. It's like, it doesn't make sense that we can seemingly competent organizations and coaches, like they all seem, and nothing seems to go our way.
Yeah.
And nothing seems to be going right, or like we're doing everything wrong. It's just, like, that's
the
part
wild.
That's really tricky. Is I'm like, what is it?
Your fan support is there. Your game day experience is there. Your history and tradition is there. You have the money in terms of investing into coaches that is very competitive. Rule's a top 10 highest paid coach. Yeah. Rule just coaching the NFL. You hired the native son that was the coach of the year. He comes, he can't get it done. It's just like, it's amazing.
It is. It's an incredible run of almost like tragically bad. Like
you can hear it in the announcers' voices too. Like you hear Jason Benetti and Brock Heward. Benetti even asked him, like, Brock, you played against this team. You know it was like, can you even believe this?
Yeah.
And they're like, no. Even the Barstool College Football Roadshow is in town. They brought the Bussin' Boys. Dave Portnoy was there. They did their like live game day show in the rail yard, and it was full of people.
Yeah.
And Dave Portnoy, who's a Michigan fan and a Michigan grad, like he was like, this is unreal.
Yeah.
And he made shirts. Now he's kind of poking, but he's also like, he made shirts to make Nebraska mediocre again. Like, but it's like, that's it. His whole thing all weekend was like, we would have never, Nebraska's been so bad for 10 years. We would never even think about bringing our show to Nebraska, but it's Nebraska.
Yeah.
And even he recorded some videos of himself. He was in the stands. And then when Michigan got up like 21-0, he had to leave. And he was like, I don't take any enjoyment in this. Like, I don't.
People are pitying us. That's the worst. It's the worst.
So
that's just like, I don't know, man. We sometimes, the more we talk, the more we're like, gosh, dang it.
I know. That's right. It's weird how, again, I predicted that Nebraska was going to lose. I thought there was a version of this game where it could have gotten out of hand, but I expected them to be competitive. I just was really disappointed with how that game unfolded. And it's just in the wake of, it's not just one scar. It's one scar.
This has nothing to do with Michigan. This is everything to do with the last 10 years.
That's what I'm having a way harder time than I thought I would of. It is really hard for me to go to wipe the slate clean and enter into this year and Matt Rule and try to not bring any of the baggage of the past.
It's impossible.
It's impossible for me. I'm just telling you right now, I've tried really hard.
And you're not, see, that's the thing is it's not just you. I think it's every single Nebraska fan. And here's the tricky part, right? The close loss seasons, I don't know if it was a good or, I mean, it's better than, like we say, than just getting absolutely pulverized for that many years. But we really thought it was going to turn.
It made it not, for as much as people could have said, boy, you guys were seeing what you wanted to see and you just wanted it to work with Frost and yada, yada, yada. We talked about this all the time. Those close losses and the way those seasons played out in 2018, 2019, certainly 2021, like, it just, to me, it wasn't clear.
It kept you like hanging on.
Gave you enough to go.
And so that's, people have been living in that long enough that now, like, win a couple, lose a couple, that, like they're kind of done with that. I think that's the part that's tricky now, is that people have just been like, I don't think we can do that.
And people don't have it's hard to muster up the strength and the appetite to have the patience in this moment. It just is.
And the right thing to me, the right thing is always patience.
Exactly. That's what's so hard about it. Is like, and this is kind of the beauty of being a human, of like, sometimes you know what the right thing is to do. You know, I shouldn't have that donut.
I want the
I want to eat that donut.
I should not have it.
But you eat it. Or I know I should wake up and I should go work out.
I know I shouldn't stay out past 10 and have that extra two or three
drinks, but like, that's it.
But human beings, that person's here. Maybe we'll just have, and then it's 1
I never see him. I'm gonna stay out.
And then your kid wakes up at 6.
Yeah, and you feel like crap.
You hear your kid and you go, oh my God, I shouldn't have done that.
That's where there's a part of the Nebraska football experience that is kind of the very essence of being a human, where we all kind of know
patience is good.
Patience is good, and we need to do this, and
don't
we need to understand this.
I want a new coach. Yes. We're gonna do something,
and that's ridiculous to go down that path at this point. But even though we all know these things, like I know Michigan's better at all 22 positions, and I know Nebraska has not been to a bowl game for 6 straight years, and I know that Michigan could win a national title, and that this is year 1 of a rebuild, and Nebraska's been hit by injuries. Like I know all of that, but damn it, it doesn't make me any less like about it.
Yeah.
And so it's just, you can know, and it's still hard to act. And that's where I'm having a way harder time with that than I anticipated myself.
Close losses are better than irrelevance, and we were irrelevant.
And it just, yesterday felt, again, when McCarthy's kissing his girlfriend and they're pulling their starters, and it's just like, wow. This is what it is now. This is all right. Should we go see about a girl? Should we go? Yeah, should we go? We go see about a girl here. Let's miss Fist's home run, and let's go see about a girl. Huh? Let's do that. You want to go do that?
Let's do that.
Let's do it.
A Herd at Sports Network production.